In this video age, more and more people own video cameras, and they're carrying them around with them for the purpose of shooting possible news footage, if they get the chance. Recording artist and human rights activist Peter Gabriel is taking this idea just a step further as he launches a new international program called Witness. It's designed to put video cameras in the hands of human rights activists around the world to turn international scrutiny on human rights violations. With Peter this morning is Michael Posner, Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Human Rights. Good morning to both of you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Peter, how did this project get started?
Well, those in power around the world can get away with murder, torture and repression as long as there's no one there to witness it. And as you mentioned with the King beatings, if someone happens to be there with a camera and can get that footage out and broadcast, then we have a very good chance of stopping it and embarrassing governments.
How many cameras and who gets them?
Well, we'd like to have thousands or hundreds of thousands of cameras, but obviously this is something that we're going to build and spread through the network of the Lawyers Committee.
Who will actually get these cameras, and what kind of instructions will you give them?
Well, to begin with, I should say that we're going to set up a group of advisors who are going to help us determine who the recipients are. We're going to send applications around the world, as Peter says, to human rights groups in every continent and every country. And we're going to allow those who seem ready to take the equipment and ready to do it, we're going to give them training. We're going to follow up to make sure that the material that they produce gets aired and gets heard and seen around the world to put governments on notice.
You know, I mean, it's pretty clear that being in the right place at the right time with a video camera is going to make for some extraordinary footage. But it can also put the person taking the pictures in extraordinary danger if confronted. What do you do in that case? What are you going to tell these people to protect them?
Well, we recognize that, in fact, people who do human rights work are in danger always, as it is now. We deal with that on a daily basis. In some ways, this equipment, this 20th century equipment, is going to put governments on notice that they're being watched. And so we think there's also an element of protection. We're determined with the network we're creating to make sure that there's an immediate response and it's a very public, strong response so that governments know that they can't get away with this or they're going to pay a price for it.
Peter, most of these human rights violations happen behind closed doors where cameras are not allowed. What kinds of things are you hoping or expecting you may be able to capture on videotape?
Well, we sent a couple of cameras out to Haiti, and within hours of arrival, someone had filmed some beatings taking place. So I think, obviously, yes, you're not going to get some film of torture, but the more evidence that can be accumulated, the better chance we have. And I would like to see the United Nations build up an archive, a library of human rights abuses, so when government commit these crimes, that they're going to be permanent records.
So maybe not in the jails or prisons, but out on the streets where it is happening. I think it was Justice Brandeis who said that sunlight is the best of disinfectants. So it sounds like a good idea. Good luck to you both.
And I want to just say our third partner in this with Peter and the Lawyers Committee is the Reebok Corporation and their foundation, which is really making this happen.
Yep. I think when you actually start reading personal stories of people with whom you can relate, then suddenly it starts coming home, you know. How in hell is this happening, you know, to these people, and we're just sitting back. And it would be an AM hit song, and as a chant in a way, generate quite a lot of attention. That it wasn't, but if it's helped to trigger other people into action, then I'm very pleased with that.
This gets back to the old question. Can music actually influence people on a tour like this, or does it just make them feel good?
I think music can't change the world directly, but it can increase awareness, and just the information can be obtained, if you like. It can be presented to people. People will then make up their own minds and respond in their own way.
There were Peter Gabriel fans out there just waiting in the wings for a new album.
Well, I'm not the world's fastest producer of music, so the fans that are there do have to wait usually. But I think I'm very lucky in that there is a good body of people who will check out anything I do.
You've talked about music having the ability to be a body of opinion. Can you be a little more specific about that?
Well, I don't want music that preaches at me all the time and tells me what to do, but I do like to to listen to things where I feel there is an awareness of what's going on, and I think quite often if you look in music or any of the arts, that feelings that the general people have towards trying to change their world are first of all visible in the arts.
Sledgehammer as a very sexual song.
Well, it does have one or two references to sexual matters, I would say, but maybe one or two other ideas in there too.
Were you surprised at
But
people's...
then so did a lot of the R&B stuff at the time, you know, so I was trying to stay within the genre, but maybe take it a little wackier.
I'm going to read you a couple of definitions of Peter Gabriel from, you know, the words that come up most frequently, and you can tell me if any of them are accurate or if they're just embarrassing and horrible. Nearly mad, soulful, evangelical, fervent, emphatic, conceptual, and mysterious. When you look in the mirror, is that the way you see yourself, or is that just
Absolutely. In that order, too. I don't really think people are normally very conscious of how they are. You just take your little world and these windows that you look out of as home, and carry it around with you, and it's other people that put the labels on.
In reading some of the interviews with you lately, you're very concerned about politics.
I think music that is devoid of interest or relationship to the world around it is very empty and shallow.
The song is dedicated.
We do have an amazing amount of opportunity, you know. I think we're overexposed, overpaid, and all the rest, and if you can't do something other than shovel a few tons of vinyl out into the streets, then I think you're neglecting the chance that's been given to you.
You've put your family way ahead in terms of priority. You said you'd rather have your family relationships than sell 1 million records. I mean, your guy lives with 3 women, your wife and 2 daughters, and the rest of the world is clamoring at your door. What do you have to do?
I think it's there's something that you can't do in installments. There's something that just being a regular presence, a consistent parent, or husband, means that there's a different type of relationship than if you're here for quite a long period and then you're back again. So I think that does make it harder. I think that rock and roll can be a killer, that it's worked on me and made me think about things and look at the world and myself in different ways. And so if I can be part of that process for other people, then that's satisfying.